So let's move to lunch. Lunch is very tricky for myself and students because one, we are on the go, we're on campus, we're not at home on the dorms. So it's the fast food, right? No choice. We have to get a hamburgers, we have to get a pizza. Any suggestions? What's the best? What's a good lunch idea?
Well, and I'm sure you have some good options here on campus too. I'm just back in the kitchen seeing some of the beautiful food they were making. With every meal, just like with breakfast, I just want people to think about the balance of it. So the fiber, the protein, and a little bit of fat. That's what's going to sustain you and keep you full for the afternoon, for your workout or your class or whatever it might be. And so so if they were having pasta today, rather than just having a bowl of pasta, grab a little bit of the pasta, but then also maybe go get a serving of the steamed broccoli and a piece of the grilled chicken and really make it sort of a mixture where you have that fiber, you have that protein, maybe the cheese sauce and the pasta for your fat. That's what's going to keep you full longer. So it's all about just kind of looking at your plate and thinking, am I having nothing but protein? Am I having nothing but carbohydrate? And kind of trying to balance it out.
Okay. So I know for some students who are always thinking, I need to save a little money here and there, we're doing a quick grab a sandwich from home to take with you. We do the ham and cheese, the peanut butter and jelly, ham and cheese, peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Those are our quick options. What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with either of those. We're going to make a sandwich today with a little modification on that. Again, I would say if you don't mind grabbing a piece of hand fruit and having with that, that would balance your meal. The thing about having the fruit, that's your source of fiber, that makes the whole meal sort of move through your digestive tract more slowly, and so you stay full longer. But the thing I like about peanut butter and jelly or ham and cheese is that's your protein, right? So the peanut butter has protein, the ham and cheese has protein. So that's certainly better than just a Pop-Tart or just a piece of toast. So we're getting some protein with that carbohydrate. So again, anything to me is better than meal skipping. And I understand that like making a sandwich like that is very budget friendly. Right. You know, you can buy a bunch of the supplies, quickly make it, throw it in your bag. So we are going to make a sandwich today, but we're also going to make something a little bit fancier for the days maybe you're at home on the weekends.
So in lunch, unfortunately, again, I'm just thinking back to my college days and how I didn't have time for lunch, but I know I always had a snack with me. I'm not even going to tell you what snacks because they are not the best. What are some of your suggested snacks that you think are good to grab and go and have easily?
Sure.
Yeah. Snickers?
So, yeah, Snickers can be good. You know, Snickers, again, like I'm going to say protein a lot, but they do have the peanuts in there. Right. So that it would stick with you a little bit longer than some of the other options. And again, it's just about balance. So if you're having a Snickers, maybe consider having some fruit with it. Maybe bring a string cheese with you. So again, just the balance of snacks. What I always do is try to have like either mixed nuts or pistachios or something like that in my work bag or in my car. Granola bars can also be a good option. I really like the Kind bars that have the whole nuts in them, or the RX bars. They also have a good amount of protein. They have a dark chocolate sea salt bar, which is actually really good. So having stuff that's shelf stable, because you don't want to buy stuff and then you don't eat it and it goes bad, and you can't keep, you know, an apple in the bottom of your work bag all the time and have it go bad. So stuff that's a bit shelf stable. Even like grass-fed beef jerky can be a good option.
Nutrigrain bars?
Nutrigrain bars. Maybe a little bit of that false advertising with the Nutrigrain bars to me. Not really giving you anything. Again, better if you're starving and that's the only option, feed yourself, you'll feel better during class, but not those meal components that I'm really looking for. They can be a little bit sugary and carby. So, but have some mixed nuts with it maybe.
And drink a lot of water.
Drink lots and lots of water. Yep, start with that big glass in the morning. I think that most people should get at least 64 ounces if you're working out. If you live in North Carolina in the summertime, we probably need more. Someone as tall as you needs more. It's just so important. And that's something that people really struggle with. So I'd say keep a huge water bottle with you all day. Make sure you finish it over the course of the day.
That's great. Any advice for lunch meals before we move on to dinner?
I guess just to remember that anything is better than nothing. So sometimes I'll even say a lunch meal can almost look like a glorified snack. because you guys are on the go. But what can you just throw in your bag to make sure you're not going from breakfast until you get home without anything to eat, and especially that source of protein. So
Are you talking about me?
I might be talking about you. I might be talking about my husband. I might be talking about a lot of people that I know that seems to be the meal that people skip. And also breakfast, honestly. And what happens in those situations is you then get beyond full. Your body goes into a starved state. There's negative things going on internally. It also makes it harder to make balanced choices because you're just like, I just need something to eat when you get home. So I always encourage people to kind of stay out in front of hunger by having little snacks throughout the day.
Now we are on to lunch. I'm still thinking about the breakfast you just did, so let's do it. What lunch are you gonna be?
All right.
Today?
First, we're gonna do, so we kind of have two options. First, super simple, something to throw in your bag, something that Professor Chris already kind of brought up is peanut butters and banana. And then we're gonna do one maybe for the weekend or something we have a little bit more time. You could throw it into a to-go container. So first we're gonna just make a peanut butter and banana sandwich. And the reason I like this is, again, it has those components of fat, fiber, and protein that I look for. As I mentioned, the great thing about any kind of nut or any kind of nut butter is that it has fat and protein and carb all in one food. So when I say have fat, fiber, and protein with all meals, it doesn't need to be overwhelming that it has to be three separate things. It could be that it's just one food that has all those components. And beans and nuts have all of those components in one food, which is really nice. So anytime you have beans or nuts in your meal, you've got your fiber and protein covered, which is really nice. But this is just sort of an easy take on peanut butter and jelly, but instead of using jelly for that little bit of sweetness, we use peanut butter. So you see we have these nice bananas right here. My kind of hack for this is rather than doing the slices so that they fall all over the place while you're trying to eat the sandwich, you actually cut it the long way and make it a little bit easier. My daughters will still complain a little bit about it falling out sometimes, but it's not quite as bad, as if you were to cut it like that. So you just kind of put it on there. And I'm not demoing the best knife safety right now. So if you're doing this at home, use it on a cutting board. I don't know how you feel about this, but my preference is sprinkle a little bit of salt on there.
Really? Okay.
Some people, maybe not so much. I actually know somebody who also puts marshmallow cream on theirs for an even more sweetness, but we'll just do it like this. So again, very
My kids
simple.
love marshmallow on anything, so we'll see.
I mean, if it makes them eat bananas and peanut butter.
Okay.
So this is not too fancy, but just kind of has all those meals components, and I wanted to give you guys options for things that you could do just super quick in the morning and throw in your bag. So that's one option. So we'll move over here, and the other option is a black bean burger salad. So black bean burgers can be a great way to get some fiber and protein. I mean, one of these black bean burgers has 9 grams of protein, and I was just telling Professor Chris, I really like for people to try to get between 15 and 25 grams of protein per meal if possible. So you're well on your way with one of these black bean burgers. These actually can be microwaved, so we're not going to demo that, but you would just throw this quickly into the microwave. And then we're just going to put it on a bed of spinach. So you have your spinach that you bought for your egg bites, and you're just going to use.
Can I have this for lunch?
Yes, please do. I would love that. You have your spinach that you bought for your egg bites. We're actually going to use it later in one of the dinner menu items, and so you're really making this container of spinach go a long way. So this, instead of a plate, if you were going to campus, you could easily do this in a little Tupperware, but all you want to do is put down a bed of greens, and then after warming up your black bean burger, just place that over the top. And then to get really fancy and add a bit more protein, we're going to fry an egg and put that on top. So this might be, you might not always do this step, but this could be over the weekend, but it just adds some nice moisture and a little bit more protein to the salad.
I did this before. We're trying to get it over.
There you go. And I'm going to let you open that because it is not one to open for me. So you bought your eggs for your egg bites. You can save 1 or 2 and use it for your black bean salad. That olive oil has just been giving you trouble from the grocery store last night.
Yes, I see Wendy's still laughing at me. Yeah. So at the grocery store, I was trying to figure out what type they had. I promise you 5 different types of olive oil. Apparently, this is the best one. All right, so yeah.
Yes, well, they have
extra,
light, they have extra virgin, they have. I think you texted me about an avocado blend.
That was a classic one too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the one. So this is getting nice and hot really quickly. You want your burner to get really, really hot if you're frying an egg. And olive oil is a great option. It's a little bit healthier than some of the other oils. I thought we got our salt open. I don't see the opening for the salt. We're just having salt and pepper and olive oil difficulties. Little sprinkle of pepper. There we go. No, that's good. And flipping a fried egg to me is an art form. My husband is amazing at it. I am not. My preference would be to have the yolk still a little bit runny if you were doing this at home. It almost kind of acts like a dressing for the black bean burger. So I'm going to go ahead and try to flip that and keep the yolk a little bit on the runny side. It might not stay runny. We also have, let's see, where's the salsa? Here's our salsa. So this is going to also be part of our dressing. So instead of a typical salad dressing, we're just going to have the black bean burger with a little bit of salsa on top. And that thing is raging, so I think it's getting pretty close to being done. So you see how quick it can be to fry an egg if you get the pan nice and hot. And it's total personal preference whether or not you want it, really runny or cooked all the way through. Is it off now? Okay. So take this and then, let's see. Put a little bit of salsa on top. And if we had had any luck with our avocados, we could also dice some avocado and put it on top of here. And you have basically like a Southwest salad.
That looks great.
Yeah, and so you have all of your meal components. You have your fat, fiber, and protein, getting some good vitamin K from the spinach. But it's also really, really delicious. Just don't forget to warm up the black bean burger first. So there you have it, peanut butter and banana sandwich, super easy.
I was just gonna ask if I could throw a slice of bread on that one. But
you could have a slice of toast on the side of this with some butter, but balanced, pretty easy. I mean, you see how quickly that came together. Delicious, easy lunch option.
That's good.
Okay. That's it for lunch. And the other lunch idea is just to eat leftovers. We're gonna make some delicious dinners next. And you can always eat leftovers for lunch. I encourage people to make double recipes and then you can have plenty.
And add a fruit.
Yes, add a fruit. Always grab a piece of fruit. That's right.
That's good. All right.
Okay.
That's great. Are we ready for dinner?
Yeah, let's do dinner.
Let's do dinner. All right. So I have to start with my ramen noodles. That is my favorite dinner of. Well, do I still do ramen noodles? Well, back in college, I still crave ramen noodles every now and then. Pros and cons of ramen noodles.
Okay, are you talking about the little 25-cent packages?
Right.
Yeah, because ramen is making a comeback. Right. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are whole restaurants devoted to ramen now.
Really?
And
Tell
it can
me
be,
more.
yeah. There's a place, I think it's on Blunt Street called Tondo Ramen in downtown. That's amazing. If it's still there, if it survived the pandemic. I haven't been there in 2 years, but making beautiful, nourishing bowls full of vegetables and seafood and the ramen noodles and these insane broths. So not the 25-cent packages of ramen. And I actually make it at home quite frequently. So you can actually make it into a very balanced meal that kids would like. Putting some seafood in there, putting some chicken in there. But this is like you're buying just the box of ramen like you would buy a box of spaghetti, and you're cooking it with chicken broth and soy sauce and things like that. What you were eating at that time would, again, going back to the idea of the balanced meal, you can tell that didn't have any protein in it.
It had a lot of sodium.
It had a lot of sodium. They do have a lot of sodium. They're delicious. I was a huge fan when I was little, so I'm with you. And so cheap, and did it in college too. But we would have been better off if we had had some grilled chicken or some shrimp or some beans and a little side salad with it. So it's not a very balanced meal, and the problem is it's not going to keep you full for very long.
So one thing I skipped during the lunch is, what's the time frame for lunch, and then when you cross it, are we in dinner? So it's, what is your ideal time frame for lunch? Is it noon till 4, and then after 4 is dinner? Or does it really depend on how you eat, really.
Yeah,
Right?
well, for me, it depends on when you wake up.
Okay.
So everybody's schedule is different. I feel like from sort of a blood sugar and energy standpoint, where you should eat between every 4 and 5 hours minimum throughout the day. Some people need to eat more like every 3 hours and have like a really good snack mid-morning and a really good snack mid-afternoon. But every 4 to 5 hours at least. So if you're someone who wakes up early like we do, then there would be more of like a noon hour that you're eating. But some people are sleeping in and eating later and going to bed later. So it kind of depends on what your sleep schedule is like. But every 4 to 5 hours, otherwise you're really going to start to feel depleted whether you realize it or not.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking about some of your suggested meals for dinner. But again, since we're doing this for the students, I'm still thinking about my college days, and especially during grad school, when I hate to admit it, but 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm still having pizza.
Right.
Bad, is it?
I don't ever like to say anything is bad. I think it's every college student's God-given right to order pizza at 2 a.m. You know, it's all part of the experience. And probably you were actually hungry. And so I'm a mindful eating dietitian, and so I don't ever tell someone, you know, if their stomach is growling that they shouldn't eat. You probably should have been asleep and not knowing that you were hungry, so that was kind of your time to fast. But again, that goes back to the clock. So you probably were sleeping a little bit later in college, and your whole schedule was sort of shifted later. I think it's better to eat if you're kind of hungry right before you're going to sleep at night. So there's old wisdom when I was growing up was like, don't ever eat after like 8 o'clock, you're going to gain weight and it's terrible. Well, if you go to bed hungry, you're again with the blood sugar, it's going to fall more rapidly during the night. So not having had enough at dinner or not having maybe a little snack before bed, and it'll actually wake you up. So, I mean, I don't know if you've ever experienced waking up at like 3 in the morning, you're like, my stomach is growling. Well, that probably means you didn't have a big enough dinner or you didn't have that snack before bed. And for me, disrupted sleep is worse than anything that can happen with having that snack before bed. So having that blood sugar fall, having the stomach start growling, and waking you up during the night, we don't want that. So I'd rather people have a little bit of Greek yogurt, maybe a handful of almonds, maybe some deli turkey, something right before bed if they're feeling a little bit hungry, and then they'll sleep better.
So tell us about some of your cost-saving healthy meals for dinner.
Okay. I really try to think about things that you can buy, especially for college students, that you can buy a big bag of, you can use it in multiple ways and kind of get creative with it. Buying in bulk is always going to be cheaper, but it can be hard if you're just cooking for one. You don't want to waste stuff and throw it away, then you're not really saving any money. So the ideas that I have that we're going to go over in a moment are, first of all, a soup where it's just kind of like throw everything in the bowl and in the pot and then you're done. Then we're going to do a sheet pan meal, which is very similar, where everything is just going to go on the sheet pan, and then we're completely done, and just pop it in the oven. And last but not least, a stir fry, same thing. Nobody wants a bunch of pots and pans to clean, and so the stir fry would just be throw everything in the pot, put a little bit of soy sauce. But again, all of the meals will have some vegetables, some protein, and a little bit of grain. Or starch. So just again, trying to think about balance and color. And one thing I did want to mention specifically for college students that I used to work at William Peace University, and so I kind of have their students in my mind when I say this. Food safety can really be an issue in dorm rooms and in apartments and things like that. You're away from home for the first time and just not really used to having to cook and then know how long something can sit in the refrigerator or sit out on the countertop. And within like 3 or 4 hours, food really needs to be refrigerated. And then if something is in your refrigerator, it needs to be eaten within 2 or 3 days. Okay. So food poisoning is not anything anyone ever wants to experience. It can be very awful and also dangerous and scary if it gets really bad. So just being aware of safe food storage.
That's great, because I was actually going to suggest that whatever you have leftovers could be a good lunch for the next day, right? So,
but eat it within a day or two. So that's, one of the lunch suggestions is the soup that we're going to make, but don't eat it a week later.
So we're getting down to the grand finale. Now we're looking at dinner. And I think Wendy's going to be presenting three different dinner options.
Yep.
Great.
Quick and easy.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the first one is taco soup. I think most of us can agree that tacos are delicious, and so why not make it into a soup? And the thing I like about this is that it really makes a lot. So the idea of having some for lunch the next day is there, but also you can put it in a mason jar, a glass jar, and freeze it if you don't eat all of it at the time. So we're going to start out with a rotisserie chicken, and this is just from the grocery store. You can get these for about $5 or $6.99. It's a whole chicken, already seasoned, ready to go. This could be a dinner in and of itself. Grab this and like a bag salad and some mac and cheese from the prepared food section, and you're good to go. So this is just a great dinner option in general, so I wanted you guys to see this in the bag. It's usually like in the deli section. But what you would do if you were making the soup is take it out and pull all of this chicken off of the bone. You'd pull the skin off first, and if you have a dog around, I can tell you from personal experience, they will happily take the skin off of your hands. But you would pull all of this off. We're not going to pull all of it off for the sake of time, but what you do is pull all of it off and then shred it up a little bit. And you can do that with kitchen shears, or you can do it by hand, but just get it into like bite-sized pieces and put it down in your pot. So next, we're going to put the base of the soup in there, which is just some chicken broth. So you can get this in the grocery store. It's about $2.99, and it has already been seasoned a little bit too. So you give that a good shake, and then just pour the whole thing in there. So we're going to make a decent amount, as I said, so that you can have leftovers or eat it or put it in the freezer. This is also, we don't have this, but this is also really good with tortilla chips. So once you get done, if you want to kind of dip in tortilla chips. So we had a can of black beans like this, but Professor Chris has already opened it for us and rinsed off. I like to kind of rinse it to get rid of some of the excess sodium and then also kind of that metal flavor. So we have our black beans right here, so that'll go in. And then if we were going to demo this, we would put this in the microwave for a few seconds. It actually takes only about 90 seconds, and then you have some perfectly steamed brown rice. We'd put that in there also, so you're really starting to bulk up your soup. And then last but not least, a nice big handful of spinach. And this is going to cook down so much that you won't even know that it's there. And then actually one more key ingredient, salsa. So this is sort of your flavor pouch. Get whatever salsa you really, really like, black bean and corn, or something really, really spicy if you can handle spice. And you literally just pour that in there, and that's sort of how you flavor your soup. You can do the whole jar or half the jar, depending on how spicy you want it to be. And then you would just stir all those ingredients together. If you have some garlic powder or cumin or any kind of Mexican spices that you like, I think the recipe that we're giving out says half a teaspoon each of salt and pepper also to bump up the flavor a little bit. And you really would only need to simmer it for about 15 or 20 minutes. Everything in here is already cooked. You're just kind of getting the flavors together. And topping it, as I said, with a few tortilla chips or maybe a dollop of sour cream, and you're good to go. You've got taco soup.
It looks great, even though it's not cooked, but
Right,
it looks great.
Yeah, so if we simmered that,
Perfect.
It would all come together, the spinach would cook down, and it would be delicious, especially if we put the whole chicken in there. Oh, and then you can also top it with some cheese. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. That's dinner option one. Quick, easy. It looks very healthy. You got spinach in it, so that's good. All right. So we're down to two more options, right? This is option 2 for dinner. But Wendy, you did talk about the type of oils to use. I actually want you to talk a little bit about that before you look at option 2, right?
So Professor Chris was asking me what the best oils are to use just in general for cooking or for frying or for sauteing. So olive oil is my go-to oil on a daily basis. So if you're roasting something, sauteing it, or frying the egg like we did, you can use olive oil. This is really, really healthy, fights inflammation, really good for your heart. But it has a very low smoke point, meaning that if you're going to cook on high temperatures, it'll start to actually oxidize, and it is actually turns into something that's not good for us at that point. And so in that case, my preference would be to use either avocado oil or coconut oil. Unfortunately, those oils are kind of pricey. Just kind of be aware of that with your budget. But a lot of the cheaper oils, so like canola oil, palm oil, those are very inflammatory and can really cause issues long-term in our bodies if we're using them on a regular basis. So have a big bottle of olive oil around, and you really use that sort of as your go-to. Yeah, so that's what we're going to use today. So our second dinner option is just a skillet meal. And it's just sort of very easy chicken stir fry. So I've tried to kind of get stuff that's ready made for you guys. So you can have it in the fridge, cook it super quickly, not a lot of prep work. So we have warmed up our brown rice. This just goes in the microwave for 90 seconds. We also have some pre-cooked grilled chicken strips, and then we have some pre-chopped veggies. So, you know, all of this, you could buy raw chicken, you could buy the whole head of broccoli, you could buy the bag of brown rice, and all of that would just take a little bit longer. But I think, I know when I was in college, I wanted quick and easy options. So to do this, if you had all these sort of pre-prepped ingredients, you would just put some olive oil in your skillet, and then take your chicken strips and put them in there for a few minutes just to warm them up because they're already cooked. These I think were previously frozen, so it would take a little while longer. Just put them in there, warm them up for a little while. At this point, you might want to add a little bit of garlic powder to season them. I think these are already seasoned a little bit, so maybe just a little bit. And just kind of toss this around. And then you would add your veggies. And this one is cauliflower and broccoli and carrots. Really any vegetable that you like could be used here. You could add snow pea pods. Professor Chris and I talked about adding edamame if you wanted to make a vegetarian version of this. So we always want to make sure we have some kind of protein source. So if you're not going to do the chicken, adding some kind of bean or tofu would be a good option here. And so if this were getting hot, yeah.
Wendy, you didn't mention not to get a frozen.
Right. Yes. Yes. So when you're doing a skillet meal like this, you do want to deal with fresh, because when you put frozen veggies down in the hot oil, it'll just pop and go crazy and be kind of painful for your wrist. So these we would want to get fresh. The other great option about having the fresh ones around is that you could actually just pull this right out of the bag and have it as a snack, dip it in some hummus, dip it in some guacamole. So very versatile. We're actually going to use the rest of this bag in our third dinner option. So, you know, just pour a good amount in there. You know, if it's just you, you can kind of gauge it, or if you're cooking for a crowd. And so at this point, I would add some soy sauce. And I think we tried to get this open before. There might be a little tab under there. But soy sauce is a great way to season food. Just keep in mind that it is super, super salty. So I might add a little bit of pepper to this dish, but I'm not going to add any more salt. There we go. So, you know, at this point, if this were on a cooktop, it would be starting to sizzle. We add in some soy sauce. I'm kind of heavy-handed with soy sauce because my family really likes flavor. If you just want a little bit of a drizzle, that's fine too. And then at the very end, you could just add in your already cooked rice and just kind of stir all that together. And then you have just a super simple skillet meal. And again, this, you know, if you use the whole bag of chicken or the whole bag of veggies, you could make a ton of this. And this would be easy to throw like in a Tupperware and bring to campus the next day for lunch, don't you think?
It looks great.
So yeah, and then, you know, get some carrots in there to get some color and some flavor. But it just comes together so, so quickly. And then you've got dinner, one skillet meal.
Perfect. It was great.
Any questions about that one?
No, I'm trying to see if I should start eating chicken again, because that looks very
yes.
great. So.
We're going to convert you. Yeah. Okay, but you could also do this with shrimp. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. All right. We're down to our last dinner option. I wish we could just keep going all day.
That's right. This is so fun.
So, all right. What are we having now?
Okay. So I'm realizing there's kind of been a theme to all three of these, and they're all one pot meals. And so I think I'm having, you know, flashbacks to college, or even now where cleaning up after dinner isn't anyone's favorite task. So, you know, we've done something in a pot, we've done something in a skillet, now we're going to do something in a sheet pan. So we are in a lovely food service kitchen, so this is more of a serving tray, but if you were at home, you might use something more like, that looks like a cookie sheet. And we're going to put the whole meal on here. So we're starting out, this one we actually are starting out with some raw chicken thighs. So this might be what you make when your parents come over to visit or you're trying to impress a date, because this one really is sort of a from scratch meal, but we are going to use the rest of our diced veggies over here. I got Professor Chris to get us chicken thighs today because they are cheaper. They're also a little bit more filling. There's a little bit more fat in chicken thighs than there are in chicken breasts. So you get a little bit more bang for your buck. So we're just gonna, if I had a little bit more time, I would cut some of this fat off. So if you're someone who doesn't like to kind of taste the fat, you would trim these thighs a little bit. But you don't have to do that. You can always cut it off when you're eating it after it's cooked, or just leave it on there. But I'm gonna arrange all of these chicken thighs evenly in this pan. And again, this can be modified if you're cooking for 4, if you're cooking for 6, or even if you're just cooking for yourself and you want some good leftovers. I'm gonna put 6 in here, kind of space them out evenly, like so. And then I'm going to pause and wash my hands because I can't handle raw chicken and touch anything else. Okay, so always practice good food safety when handling raw meat. Be sure to go wash your hands really well when you get done handling it, and to not touch anything else when you have the raw meat on your hands. Same thing if you were to cut raw meat on a cutting board. Really, really important. So now we're done with that. So what we're going to sort of add in on the pan around the chicken is some little baby red potatoes. You could chop these up if you would like, or you can just add them whole. I just kind of sprinkle them in the empty spaces around the pan. And if you really like potatoes, you could do 2 bags of these. But the nice thing about these baby ones is you don't really actually have to chop them up. And then we're going to take our diced veggies, so the same ones that we use for the stir fry, the same ones that you could use to dip in some hummus and have for a snack, so great to have on hand, and just sprinkle those around too. Another option here could be green beans. You could do green beans sprinkled around it, really any vegetable that you like to roast. And we're just making a quick and easy sheet pan meal. Some of these bigger ones you might want to chop up a little bit just so that they aren't so big to try to eat later, but they will cook just fine. And literally all we're going to do is take our handy olive oil right here, drizzle it over the whole thing, just a nice even drizzle to just give it a little bit of moisture in there. And then there's measurements for all this on the recipe, but I'm just going to give a nice generous sprinkle of garlic powder over the whole thing. And since this is garlic powder and not garlic salt, you really can be fairly heavy-handed with it.
What's the difference?
So garlic salt has had salt added to it. This is just dehydrated garlic, which I love. Right. And it is a major flavor enhancer. I think we also got some oregano that we forgot to open. So I would also add some oregano right here to kind of add some flavor. And then some salt and pepper also. Thank you. So you could just do a really generous sprinkle of oregano. Oh, we did open it. Okay. So I'm going to add some oregano over the top of here, and it's starting to smell good, isn't it, with the garlic and the oregano? Yeah. And then some salt and pepper. Always finish with some salt and pepper. Again, I think the recipes that we're going to post will give you measurements for all these. So just generous sprinkle over the top. And then we'll show you what that looks like when it's come together. Just put foil over the whole thing. And I believe we've said 400 degrees. It's really very forgiving. So like if you needed to go have a little bit more time, you could bake it for longer at like 350, or you can bake it for a shorter amount of time at 400 or 425. But just leave it covered and cook it for about an hour and 15 minutes. The chicken needs to come to an internal temperature of 165 degrees. So if you don't have a good meat thermometer, I highly suggest getting one. And if you want the chicken to kind of brown up and crisp up, you can take the foil off at the very end and just leave it in there for like 5 more minutes. And especially thighs, because they do have a little bit more fat, they'll get nice and crispy. But the juices will cook out of the chicken and the veggies will roast, and then you have your whole meal.
Well, Wendy, this is great.
Yeah, thank you.
That is the end of our Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. By the way, students, don't ever say, I don't do anything for you, because this is how far we have to go to make sure that you have healthy food, affordable food, and please, please, please drink water. Okay. Wendy, anything you want to add or say before we close the session?
I think the only thing I would add to eating in a balanced way and drinking lots of water is move your body a little bit every day. Again, it doesn't have to be a hardcore workout. Go for a walk. Call a friend, take a tennis lesson, just find something you enjoy doing and move a little bit every day.
Great, great, great information. I think we got breakfast, we got lunch, we got dinner, we're set. Tell us a little bit about how we can reach you, how we can find you. If students have any questions, can they email you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So my website is wendypedraza.com. And it's Wendy, WendyPedraza. And you can reach me through the contact form there, or you can email me at wendy@wendypedraza.com. Love questions, happy to support.
Great. And you're going to be getting a lot of questions from me.
Okay, good. I look forward to it.
Well, there we have it. It's another edition of Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. Please, if you have any more questions, you can reach me. Ms. Wendy just gave you her contact information. You can do that as well. It was great having Ms. Wendy here today. Words cannot express how happy I am saving you all some money, getting you all some healthy ideas, but for myself as well. So thanks again for coming, Wendy, and we're definitely going to stay in touch. I will be sending you some more questions.
Great. I look forward to it. This was really fun. Thanks, everybody.